In recent years, our team has partnered with Sylvan Lake to tell the Sylvan Story. And a sixth edition of the program just premiered on Civic Center TV, providing another exciting look through history on the prettiest little city in Michigan. And here to tell us more about this new installment is Sylvan Lake historian Helen Jane Peters, who joins us on The Splash. And Helen Jane, what can you tell us about this new installment of Sylvan Stories?
Well, this painting that you can see behind me was in the Daniel Whitfield School. It was painted in 1928 by Roy Gamble, a noted Detroit painter. And in 1991, Whitfield School was closed because of many reasons in the Pontiac school system. And the teacher in that classroom was Mrs. Carol Samuelo. And this painting was over the fireplace in this classroom. This was a classic classroom. The whole school was classic. It was like an arts and crafts style school. So this painting was actually commissioned by Charles Fisher, who was an architect for the school. And he and his wife commissioned Roy Gamble to paint this picture for the classroom. I don't know how they decided to paint Mary and her little lamb, but it's a beautiful, beautiful painting. And it was on oil, on canvas, and it was attached to the wall with very, very strong adhesive. So Carol Samuelo in that classroom tried all summer to remove the painting because she knew what could happen if the building were torn down. And that eventually did happen. So Carol worked all summer. She called the DIA. She called various artists that she knew, and nobody could help her. So then she called the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society, which was an excellent idea. So oh gosh, what's his name? The president of the Historical Society came to Whitfield School. In fact, we have a picture of him removing the painting. I'm looking, and it was in the newspaper. It was here. It is. Jim Larriman was the president of the Historical Society at that time, and he went to the school and he took with him a 10-pound mallet and a chisel. And he began to work on the painting. He decided that he had to remove the plaster along with the painting, which I'm sure was quite a process. But he eventually got the painting off the wall. Tell me if you want me to stop.
No, you're great, Helen. Don't worry. It's amazing that you have access to this painting now. What does it mean to be able to showcase it to the people of Sylvan Lake?
Oh my goodness. Well, I grew up in Sylvan Lake, and so I attended Whitfield School from kindergarten through sixth grade. And I was in that room for, I think, possibly for first grade instead of kindergarten, but I'm not positive of that. That was a very long time ago. Anyway, we are thrilled to have this painting back in Sylvan Lake. So after Jim Larriman took it from the wall, they took it to the Historical Society Museum, which is at the corner of Long Lake and Orchard Lakes. And if you have not been to the museum, you really need to go. It's been redone, and it is just fabulous. There's a section for each community, plus the big room that has all kinds of history about this area. So what they did, they took this painting, it was on canvas, so it was like on fabric in a way, and they, the board members would sit in a circle around the painting during their board meetings, and everybody would take a section and try to get the plaster off the back of the painting. If you can imagine this, it's kind of like a quilting bee, only they're taking the plaster off the back of the painting. So eventually they got it to the point where they could put stretcher bars on the back of it and they could hang it up. This happened during the presentation. My nose starts itching. Anyway, they They put it on stretcher bars and they hung it in a very special place right by the front door in the museum. It was there for 20 years.
Wow.
And finally, the board members decided, I think that we could use that space for something else because the painting is 5 by 5, 5 feet by 5 feet. It's a huge painting. And so I was there and they said, would you like to have this painting back in Sylvan Lake? My heart almost stopped. I love that painting. So the first thing we did was we had Dumichels come out and appraise the painting. What is it worth? Well, it wasn't a very high value because the painting was not in the best of condition. I think it was either $200 or $400 that they thought the painting was worth. Well, it was worth $1 million to me and anybody who went to it.
And I'm sure it's worth $1 million to the people of Sylvan Lake. I mean, that's great that you have this on display, Helen. And I want to talk about what it means to be able to showcase just history in general to the people of Sylvan Lake. What's that like?
Oh gosh, that is just more fun. I am constantly meeting people that say, well, who lived in my house before I did? And it's quite possible I knew those people. I lived on Inverness, and so I knew my neighbors very well. But now we live on Garland, and I know my neighbors, and I can remember who lived there. I might have gone to school with somebody who lived in their house previously. Or I have some connection. It's all in my head, and I wish I could figure out how to put this down so people could research this and find out something that they know. But it's really fun for me to share what I know about different places. And I have done, this is number 6 or 7 of these presentations. So I have shared a lot about what I know about Sylvan Lake. So to me, it's fun, it's interesting, and it's really rewarding to help people know a little bit more about the prettiest little city in the state of Michigan, as you said earlier.
That's absolutely right, and that's great that Sylvan Stories has been continuing on for 6 installments so far. And I want to talk about how great is it to have had these events and these presentations help educate the people of Sylvan.
Well, it's really interesting for me to look out at the audience and watch their reaction to things that I tell them. And this time we kind of had an open question and answer time. And it so happened that our mayor was there, so he was able to answer some questions. So that part is really fun too. I think the people, they marvel at the fact that we know these things about our little city. You know, we are only a mile or a mile and a half square. We have 800 homes. We have about 1,600 people. And it's just amazing that we know so much about our little city. And we can thank many people for that. We can certainly thank Mrs. Carol Samuel for saving this painting. If she had not saved it, it would have gone with the wrecking ball.
That's absolutely right.
So much did go, was ruined by the wrecking ball.
Well, it's great that we have this painting preserved, Helen. I want to thank you so much for your time today. One more question before we let you go. What do you hope to see from these events as time goes on, and how do you hope that this event benefits or educates the people of the community?
Well, my hope is that these are all at Civic Center TV, and I do have the link to get to them and post this on post it on Facebook. But I'm hoping that they will all be preserved. They will all be possibly linked together. They're all different subjects, but I'm hoping that they will be preserved forever. And there should be a way for us to have these available in City Hall. Where I have what I was telling Carol, I have a history closet at my house, and this is my book about the painting. And you can see, this one isn't very thick, but most of them are twice the size of history that I have shared, that I have saved for the city of Sylvan Lake. So I'm just, years from now, I hope people will research and find out a little bit more about where they live or something specific about the city. Because it's just amazing that we have all this history here in our little city.
Absolutely, and it's great to have people like you helping to preserve this history and to tell these stories. Sylvan Lake historian Helen Jane Peters, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.